You know, when you think of a shotgun, what comes to mind? Probably a simple hunting tool, right? Or maybe something the police use. But what if I told you it has this secret century-long history as one of the most adaptable and controversial weapons on the entire battlefield? We're going to uncover how this seemingly basic firearm has been constantly reinvented to face the deadliest threats of just about every era. Okay, so to really get the impact of this thing, let's start with a question. Picture World War I, a war that introduced us to chemical weapons, flamethrowers, just absolute horrors. Out of all of that, what single weapon did the German High Command formally protest, demanding it be banned from the battlefield? You guessed it, the shotgun. Its debut on the battlefield was so brutal, so effective, that it actually sparked an international incident. So, how in the world did we get there? Well, our story really begins in the muddy, claustrophobic trenches of World War I. Think about it. Down there, your long-range rifle is clumsy, it's slow, and combat is this brutal, face-to-face affair. The American forces, they remembered how well shotguns worked in the jungles of the Philippines, and they saw a huge opportunity. And this is what they came up with. The Winchester Model 1897, but heavily modified for war. It got the nickname the trench broom. The barrel was shortened to make it easier to swing around in tight spaces. They added a heat shield so a soldier could actually grab the hot barrel in a desperate fight. It was even fitted with a bayonet for when things got, really personal. And each shell, it fired a devastating spread of 9 lead pellets. But its most terrifying feature? That was a little mechanical quirk. See, the M1897 didn't have something called a trigger disconnector, and what that means is a soldier could just hold the trigger down and keep pumping the action as fast as humanly possible. This was called slam firing. It basically unleashed a continuous storm of lead down a narrow trench. It was a horrifyingly effective way to just clear an enemy position in a matter of seconds. The effect was so gruesome that Germany issued a formal diplomatic protest. They claimed the weapon caused unnecessary suffering, which is, a little hypocritical coming from the same army that introduced poison gas. They even declared that any American soldier captured with a shotgun or its ammo would be executed right on the spot. Yeah, the shotgun had definitely earned its fearsome reputation. So after World War II, the shotgun was mostly kind of pushed to the side, used for guard duty. But then came a new kind of war, in the dense, chaotic jungles of Vietnam, and that presented a completely different set of problems. In the jungle, ambushes were sudden, they were brutal. The enemy was often hidden, moving through super thick vegetation. A standard shotgun's circular pattern of shot, it just wasn't ideal. You might hit the branches above a target or the dirt below them. So the U.S. Navy SEALs needed a way to seriously increase their chances of a hit. The solution they came up with was this bizarre-looking muzzle device called the duckbill choke. And instead of firing a round cone of pellets, the duckbill actually flattened the pattern into a wide horizontal oval. It created this virtual blade of buckshot that would just slice through the air. The pattern it made had a width-to-height ratio of about 3-to-1. So what does that mean? It means at 25 yards, you could sweep an area over 3 feet wide. This massively increased the probability of hitting a moving target or a partially hidden one right at ground level, exactly where the enemy was likely to be. And you know what? It worked like a charm. The legendary SEAL James Patches Watson, who used an Ithaca 37 shotgun with one of these duckbill chokes, said it was incredibly effective in ambushes. The shotgun had adapted once again, this time for the jungle. But the innovation didn't stop with the gun itself. To solve all these new battlefield problems, engineers also had to completely reinvent the ammunition. And this led to some of the most specialized and kind of weird projectiles ever made. So first up, you have flechette rounds. Now instead of lead balls, these shells fired a cloud of tiny, razor-sharp steel darts. The whole idea was to slice right through that thick jungle vegetation and stretch the weapon's effective range way beyond what standard buckshot could do. Then, as urban warfare became more and more common, the shotgun became a tool, a key, really. This is the M1030 breaching slug. It's basically made of powdered steel that's held together with wax. It can blast a lock or a door hinge to pieces, but because it pretty much disintegrates on impact, it won't harm anyone on the other side of that door. Pretty clever. And maybe the absolute peak of all this experimentation was the Frag 12. This is where it gets wild. It's a 12-gauge shell that is literally a miniature, high-explosive grenade. You could fire it from a standard shotgun, and it would explode on impact, which effectively turned a simple pump action into a semi-automatic grenade launcher. Just wow. So, from breaching doors to launching grenades, the shotgun proved how versatile it could be. But its story is nowhere near over. In fact, it's found a new and maybe its most unexpected role yet on the battlefields of today. Right now, the biggest threat on many modern battlefields isn't a tank or a soldier. It's a cheap commercial drone, often flying in swarms. They're small, they are incredibly fast, and they are so hard to hit with a standard rifle. Plus, a lot of them are immune to electronic jamming. So how do you stop them? Well, you use a shotgun. In this wild twist of history, soldiers in conflicts like the one in Ukraine are actually relying on the old trench broom. That wide, dense pattern of buckshot gives a soldier a much, much better chance of hitting a small, fast-moving drone than a single rifle bullet ever could. It's a simple, brute force solution making a huge comeback. And just like in Vietnam, the ammunition is evolving to meet this new threat. You've got experimental rounds like this Skynet anti-drone shell. It doesn't even fire pellets. It fires a net that expands to 5 feet wide. It's designed to just entangle the drone's rotors and bring it down without blowing it up. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, it's really an incredible story of adaptation. I mean, from clearing trenches in 1918 to jungle ambushes in the 60s to defeating swarms of high-tech drones today, the shotgun has stayed relevant by just being simple, versatile, and, well, brutally effective. Which kind of brings us to a final thought, right? In an age of artificial intelligence, stealth bombers, and all these smart weapons, is there always going to be a place for a simple brute force tool that just gets the job done? What do you think?